Welcome race fans to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast with Cam, K, and Graydon Bun. True Canadian race fans. This show is presented by Remax Jack. Call Remax Jack and start to pack. Green flag is out. Let's get this podcast underway.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast with Cam, K, and Graydon Bun. We are really excited to have on Cassie Fambro, Motorsports Journalist. Cassie, you're joining us at kind of a great time because I think we're officially halfway, maybe a little bit short halfway through the NASCAR Cup Series season. You know, we're going to start off there because this is, I don't know if we can call it the most interesting AllStar race. I think Greydon and myself are kind of on it. And then they came out with the formula, and it was even more confusing on paper. What's the consensus that you feel around the All-Star race this year? Do people really care about it, or is this just kind of let's wait until next year?
Well, just to let people know who may not know me, I don't get to do motorsports journalism full time. I consider myself more of like a giant fan sometimes who gets to write about it, and then my full-time job is in TV news. So if I misspeak or get anything wrong, we can just pretend it didn't happen. But I follow it religiously every day, multiple times a day, and of course, dating Matt Weaver, I get an earful of it about 12 times a day as well. So I get to learn his side of things, and then discern from following other motorsports journalists who do get to do it full time, some insight there, and of course checking out what NASCAR itself puts out. And boy, when we first saw this all-star configuration, if you asked me right now for $1 million, if I could explain it to you, I would not get $1 million. I think
right there with you.
I think it's going to be something. I'm optimistic that it will be entertaining, but that brings up the whole argument of if entertainment is really what we should want. But if we consider that it's an exhibition, I feel that it's definitely going to exhibit something. I thought it was funny. I feel like we learned today that Kyle Larson, by the victory of the random draw, getting to be pole sitter. That was kind of funny to me, considering his run of success lately. You really can't think of a better person to be the pole sitter, and I found it mildly hard to believe it was random, but I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go. I think it could be humorous. I think it might be frustrating, and I think we're all going to be quite confused throughout the ordeal. I think Twitter will be on fire, wondering why anyone is anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, it's already there most days though, Cassie, right? Like it seems like there's always something that NASCAR fans are upset about. And as soon as we heard it was Texas, it was just
shooting
like
race fuel on the
what?
fire of like craziness.
I just love that it's Texas. You really couldn't pick a more appropriate place for something this wild. They say everything's bigger in Texas, right? I'm originally from Texas. So I will hearken to that narrative that certainly things are exaggerated there. And really, for an all-star, anything goes format, it fits Texas. And of course, under the tutelage of Eddie Gossage, being the promoter there and being legendary for trotting out all sorts of farm animals and pistols and all kinds of fire and whatever Eddie Gossage wants to do, it just adds to that extreme spectacle. And again, I know that a lot of people are very, very critical of it, and I respect and understand that and agree, but I'm optimistic that at least hopefully it will be something that entertains the fans more so than frustrates them, because I think we've had enough frustration recently that it might be a good palate cleanser, if that makes sense, just to kind of give us some air to breathe, and then we get back into the swing of things for the rest of the season.
I mean, if nothing else, you got to give props to Eddie Gossage for his use of pyrotechnics and livestock. I mean, that's bringing it. So we have that to look forward to. And I'm kind of glad that Cam opened with asking the NASCAR question, because it isn't your bread and butter, if you will, Cassie. It's, I guess, in a way, if I can say, you kind of see the the doom and gloom on a more daily basis. So motorsports is maybe more of an escape as in a secondary profession and even as a fan. So can you kind of talk about it's almost like a mental health conversation in a way, because it has to be a bit of an escape for you and for a lot of us that see that crap every day, all the bad that's going on in the world.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's something I think about a lot. My major in college, I started out with psychology and ended up double majoring in psych and communication and going into journalism. And so that is so true that sometimes when your work especially is like this, and of course, first responders this year, medical professionals, and they've had to deal with so much. We were tasked with really telling a lot of those stories and getting sort of in the communicative trenches to try to get the information out to people about the virus and the precautions. And as a result, a lot of us sort of received a lot of the flack from people who didn't necessarily agree with the stories that we told, or the medical professionals that we interviewed, or the politicians, or whatever was happening. So it has been the most challenging year of my professional life to just even do my job. So it's interesting that you mentioned motorsports, because you're so right. I really do look forward to every weekend and being able to sit down and watch a race, and to the degree that even just having it on in the background, if I'm having to do something else, is sort of comforting to me, because it's nice to even have it on. If for instance, I'm not incredibly invested in ARCA this year, but I'll tune into every ARCA race and at least have it on if I'm cooking dinner or something and follow it, just because it is an escape and it's its own world. And it is with Matt, I'm able to see the perspective from the reporter and sort of the inside the garage type mentality a lot. And then I still have that fan perspective, because I'm just different online, and some of the people I follow are different from who he follows. So I get a combination of perspectives, and I still have a lot of fun doing it. So even on his bad days, I'm still having fun.
That's a good thing. I mean, you got to keep a good attitude with it. I mean, in your profession, whether it's motorsport, just journalism in general, it's almost like politics. There's going to be a certain percentage of the people that read or absorb your work that it's going to piss them off. It's not going to rub them the right way. There's nothing that you're going to do that pleases 100% of the people that take your product in. So, I mean, you have to have a certain, you have to be born with that part of the brain or whatever, if you will, that you have to be able to take that, have broad shoulders, or let it roll off. So salute to you guys that do that.
You're very kind to say that. It's definitely interesting. I will say the only crazy thing, and sometimes you see it, is that sometimes when you have one of those racing opinions on the Twitters, you're not quite sure what you're going to get back. But I've had a lot of really great interactions on Twitter from this community, racing in general, including, now being acquainted with you guys and being able to meet people that otherwise, I may not have. So I think of it all as a good thing, more so than those sometimes bad interactions that you might see on social media. There's a lot more good, and I've made genuine friends through Motorsports Twitter, which is really cool.
I'm talking over Cam here a little bit. I'm sorry. I just I just want to bring that close, like it being part of the motorsports social media. Cam, you know what you mean? Like, you have to kind of weed out the good stuff. I mean, you can look through replies and notifications and kind of sift out the people that maybe absorb or like take in your work and know where you come from on a regular basis. And then the people that just kind of take a look at it and react in a flash knee-jerk pattern and just tear you a new one for no justified reason or just come from nowhere. So it's the more you're kind of involved in it, at least from my standpoint, I'm finding there's a good balance between looking at your timeline and your notifications and knowing when to just walk away and
I'll give you guys
and tune it out for a while. I'm sorry, Cam, go at it.
I just wanted to insert a quick example real quick. So I was talking about how I really respected that Matt and I had the opportunity to go to a World of Outlaws race where Kyle Larson was just a dude. I mean, he's just hanging out with everybody. He doesn't have a detail around him or a security guard or anyone. You know, I've been inside the NASCAR garages and the NASCAR tracks and the small tracks and the bull rings, and it was so different than the NASCAR environment, Kyle Larson, where he does have to have usually a PR person or some sort of entourage. And at this little dirt track in Indiana, he's just a dude, and he talks to everybody. It's what's up? Hey, how's it going? The God's honest is that the man is shy. He has a shy affect about him. And it's so surprising to see that as compared to some of the folks maybe in the big tracks that are not like that and maybe a little arrogant. Mm-hmm. So when I was commending Kyle Larson the other day for really taking the time to, this man will run 2 races in 24 hours. He went from, you know, winning a NASCAR race to getting right back in a sprint car within 24 hours. Yeah. He loves what he does. He meets the fans. And sure enough, as I was commending that on Twitter, somebody will reply and they'll be like, well, he doesn't really ever deserve to drive again. He did this thing. He has this incident last year. And and maybe this is naive me, but I just really believe everyone deserves a second chance. And so I just think that he's making the best of that. And the way he interacts with fans is just so powerful to me when that fan access is so limited in NASCAR.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just that, Cassie, it's even that there's not as much of it on, you know, a regular basis now. I think that with COVID, you haven't been able to have fan access. So the fact that he's even taking the time to do it when, as you said, there's a lot of arrogance. I mean, Greydon and I, we've both been to NASCAR races, and it's not like, say, Pinty's, and it's not like the normal short tracks where you can go down and actually get a hero card, get an autograph, you know, meet your driver, talk to the driver. It's just not like that. And we'll just tie that in then. Do you feel that NASCAR could go that route, or is it just too big of a thing that they wouldn't be able to do something like that?
Well, I think they should, and I think it's desperately needed that they need more access to the drivers. To give you a quick example, you know, I've been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with IndyCar several times now. I can walk right up to Will Power. Will Power's walking through the paddock, coming out to go somewhere. He will stop. He will talk to you. Colton Herta, Scott Dixon, all of them, they are very accessible. They might be a little aloof because they have that formal media training to where, you know, they're going to sign your autograph. They may not chat with you for very long like they do like drivers do at short tracks, but they are at least there. And contrary to NASCAR, I remember I was there as a reporter once, and I was getting video of some of the drivers, and the drivers were irritated that I was even there getting the video and sort of on their path walking with them and not an official partner. And that's fine. And I get that, you know, you go into game mode and sometimes you need those moments to yourself. But in those parts before the race and after the race where you could be accessible to the fans or even the media and you're maybe hesitant to do that, sometimes I just wish. There's 2 things at play here. We know that there are media members who ask some really stupid questions. We have seen it. We've seen it on Twitter. We know who those people are, and we don't know how they got credentials. And they do it, and it really makes it really bad for a lot of other people, I think. But the vast majority of motorsports journalists are in motorsports journalism because they love motorsports journalism. And they need that access to those people to tell those stories and get people to invest in the series and in the sport. So, I mean, that's a step right there when I talk about it from a media perspective and, you know, we're willing to work with people too. If we need to talk to a driver about a subject and they say, look, I can do it, but I have to plug Valve Lead or I have to plug DraftKings or whatever it may be. Fine. We can say easily DraftKings sponsored Bubba Wallace says this or what have you. And then, you know, really go from there. But there just has to be those conversations to let that happen. And my little brother, who's turning 21 next month, a couple of years ago, I got to take him to a late model track. And he got to walk right up and get Harrison Burton's hero card and shake Harrison Burton's. And they were both 17, I think, at the time. So it was really cool. You know, because they're both really young. So he's like, oh my gosh, this is Harrison Burton. And my brother will love Harrison Burton forever because he got to shake his hand and like,
exactly.
And we need that. We need people who could. I wonder when the last time, like, I wish I could ask Harrison Burton when the last time it is that he's been able to shake a fan's hand and like actually do that, because it's so different. But it is crucial because you have to make relationships in order to build investment, I think.
And well, definitely. I think Greydon and I have actually had this conversation many times. As I go back to when I first saw my very first CASCAR race, and I remember it clear as day. Why? Because of the moment being able to meet your heroes way back when, you know, and that isn't something that you can get in a lot of sports. And if you go to an NHL game, you're not getting to meet the players. That just doesn't happen. You're not able to get out onto the ice, you know, and I don't know, shoot a goal, you know, that doesn't happen. But you can go and take a picture next to the car. Hell, we've been at the Penny Series races where they've actually had kids and they put them behind the driver's seat for a picture opportunity. Like, you just don't get that.
Like, I remember even being like a young adult and getting to sit in one of Dale Earnhardt's cars, like his old cars, and being on top of the world. Those moments just mean everything. I remember shaking somebody's hand who had shook, I think it was probably Matt, and just being like, oh my God, you shook Dale Jr.'s hand. And like being nerdy completely about it. And I finally, you know, I've gotten to meet and talk to Dale Jr. now. And it was like one of the easily the top three moments of my life, because I was a little kid wearing a Dale Jr. shirt, you know, and now I got to do that. So cool. Yeah.
So you gotta ask.
I tell you guys, I've got the Slide Job shirt on, just so
nice.
Appropriate for the podcast.
We got to ask then, Cassie, because you've got a massive Junior fan.
I am.
And well, Greydon is too. And I've got to ask, how was it meeting him? Like, what's he like? Is he as
okay? I can give you like the. I forgot my own name. Like, so
I would too.
And I am a professional adult. I swear I've been doing this for like a long time. I know how to introduce myself and shake somebody's hand. He gets off the golf cart. Matt grabs him and is like, "Hey, this is Cassie. She works with me. She does short track scene. She loves short tracks and she's a really big fan of yours." And I was like, "Hello, sir. I'm short scene tracks. Cassie. I date Matt Weaver. My family loves you. I love you. And it's really nice." I just gushed and he was just laughing and smiling. I must have shook his hand like one of the cartoons where it was like, and just, I've never done that in my life with anyone else. And I've met a lot of people and I've been really great, really blessed to meet a lot of people. Only time in my life I've ever just almost fallen on the ground. So it was fun.
I don't know what the hell I'd do.
I don't think I came off a cloud for a week. It was so cool to me.
No doubt. That'd be amazing.
Greydon's, we did an interview with Alan Bestwick, which was, for me, that was my Dale Jr. moment. And
cool.
And I said to Greydon, I was like, I'm trying not to cry on camera right now. Like it is, because it is. These are the guys that you grew up, and this was what, like his
how can you not be in awe of the guy?
He was the very first NASCAR voice. I didn't hear Mike Joy first. It was Alan Bestwick, 2002 Daytona 500.
I love his voice.
Him, Benny, and Wally, and instant hooked right from then. Nowadays, it feels as if NASCAR is trying to get back to making a bit more personable feel. They've gotten a little more comic related on like their social media. I'd say the biggest issues that, and again, Greydon, you and I, we really talk about this stuff a lot. The broadcast is, if you watch an F1 broadcast and watch a NASCAR broadcast, even a V8 supercars. I mean, we talked about V8 supercars, even IndyCar. I don't know what it was this year, but it's NASCAR
you guys
broadcast.
Are gonna get me in trouble today.
That's why you're here, Cassie. I mean, Matt said it's ratings. We got to talk. We get those hot takes.
I don't know when we decided we wanted to be a variety show, but it has done the product service. Watching supercars recently, really, I'm glad you brought that up, was incredible. The one thing that was weird for me, but I get it obviously because you have former drivers interviewing drivers. There was sort of still that shtick of friendship, and you can tell it's like, oh, this is my guy, this is my friend, and that's bizarre for me from the objective journalism world. But there was this sense that it mattered and this seriousness, and then go back to the Indy 500 coverage. I thought was just top tier, excellent this year. Letting the thing breathe, getting to see Elio running down the track and everything that was involved with that. You felt how much it mattered. You felt how much it mattered in qualifying when, my gosh, I mean, every time they turned a lap, those milliseconds would matter, the tenths of a second. And it's almost like chills would go through your body because this is the greatest race in the world. These are the legendary bricks. This is the stadium. This is Holy Land. And you go to Daytona and you've got a Michael Waltrip grid walk where he's throwing a taco at a race car and it just doesn't compute. I don't know. And God bless him. I think he's a funny person, but I don't think that really adds to people taking the product seriously. And we've got Clint Boyer in the booth right now, who is one of the funniest people alive. And I see that there's room for that, but I don't know that doing it so much. The Clint Boyer's money thing can go straight to hell.
Yes.
I am so tired of hearing that he's going to have to get a ride home because he's giving away his money. I don't like being spoken to like I'm an 8-year-old child on the broadcast. I would like to understand. I want them to explain to fans high downforce, low downforce better. Yeah. Larry Mack does an excellent job at that. I think we need to utilize him more. I have a big problem with Jeff Gordon in the booth as an HMS homer. But that makes me a hypocrite because I'm fine with Dale. I just think they're different in the respect that Dale will acknowledge that he's a team owner and his involvement, and he will say that repeatedly. And I feel like we don't necessarily get that from Jeff. So I think there's a myriad of problems this year specifically because we've got Jeff Gordon saying, oh, look at Chase Elliott coming from there. Chase Elliott this year. Wow. He's just not, and just really pulling out those Hendrick names. And it does make me in that journalistic standpoint, which is not the same as commentary. And I recognize that before somebody tweets me, but it's just a little bit much. Just like you said, this year, the Clint Boyer thing is just a bit much. And sometimes, I don't know if it's just me, you see some of the other folks, Mike Joy, kind of looks annoyed.
Yes.
And that's interesting. I sure wish we could get behind the eyes of Mike Joy.
Man, you're like preaching to the choir here.
Exactly.
We will fight with you on this hill till the friggin' cows come home on all counts so far. Like we got your back on this stuff. It is.
You guys ever watch Race Hub?
Yeah, we do.
So Race Hub is hit or miss. There are some really good elements. There are some things that go terribly wrong, and I'll acknowledge that. But like Caitlin Vinci, I really love what she does. She has this serious air about her, and she is often used for some of the more lighthearted things or the features of the pieces. But when they let her and folks, and again, I'm a big sponsor of women in motorsports, when they let her and they let Jamie Little was on, I don't remember if it was PRN. I think it was PRN here recently. I was listening to her talking to Jeff Hammond. So yeah, it was with them. And she was so unfiltered. She was saying, we need local yellows. She was saying all these different insightful things that she can't say on the broadcast. And these women, especially that I follow so religiously, they know what's going on. The Jamie Littles, again, going back to my Joy, they know the problems are there, and I sometimes just really wish to hear them unfiltered more, like we do Jamie Little when he's a guest on PRN, and I sometimes just listen to the races on MRN or PRN because they are different than the broadcast, and I value those calls. That when Kyle Larson won, you guys, it was amazing. The call was like, Kyle Larson is a diminutive man in person, but he is a giant on the track. I was like, what a call!
That's amazing.
Like, holy moly, like that seriousness of that reminded me of baseball. And it was like one of the moments where they slide in the 7th inning and it's a tie game and they need one run to get the lead. And it was like one of those cool moments in the game. And I just loved it. So I don't know. I think we need more authenticity, which is a drum that I'll beat forever. Because when you go to a short track, you can't get much more authentic than that.
Yeah.
And here we are in NASCAR for some reason trying to give away RVs and acting like that's what the sport is supposed to. It's just bizarre how those things connect.
It comes off so much like you said, it's a variety hour, like they're doing pre-race skits.
Friggin' hee-haw.
I get that, like, Daryl used to be a sense of funniness, which is true. He was funny, but he was also able to be serious. I think there's so many races now where we go, well, the truck broadcast, man, that's a bit of a drag. You know, the Xfinity broadcast, this driver only thing was fun for a bit, but even that's kind of, it's just like, we don't need any more of that. It just focus on the racing. Like Lee Diffie's call of that final lap of the 500 is quite possibly one of my favorite calls of a final lap in a long, long time. You don't get that anymore. And it's hard because I know Mike Joy is still capable of that, but I just don't know if when they split the three of them up, what he was able to do, kind of the play-by-play and leave kind of the analytics, and let the excitement be built up with Larry and Daryl, because they would get really hyped up. Well, you just don't really see that anymore. And the rest of the booth, it seems to bring it down. Like, we've talked at length, Greydon and I, of who would we put into that seat. Brendan Gaughan for the Truck Series is like a fireball of energy. Like, why he wouldn't be perfect to get in that truck broadcast, I have no idea. Elliott Sadler would be probably really exciting for the.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he would.
I'm starting to think Andy Lally would be a damn
Andy
good
Lally
analyst
was.
too.
I was actually going to say, my vote, I need Andy Lally, at least on road course races, because my God,
he's so good.
He
you guys listen to
everybody
him on
away.
races? Holy crap, it's so good. I just love the insight he provides, and he keeps it real as well. And I love what you touched on about the drivers only broadcast, because some of the drivers, again, just like being on TV, you either have it or you learn it, or you don't have it and you don't learn it. And there's a vibe you have to get to. Like, you have to be excited, or you have to be serious, and you have to turn those switches on or off. And some of those guys really don't have it. Me, not them. And they're trying. Like, for instance, Bubba Wallace doesn't necessarily have it, but when he was with Blaney, he was much better because they vibed with their best friends. But Joey Logano surprised me. I think he's really good as far as play-by-play. I don't know, color, not as great, but he's really good with the play-by-play and the seriousness. And I value that a lot more than the jokes.
Yeah. So who do you think, because it seems like that's where NASCAR wants to go, that they want drivers as part of their broadcast team. There's a lot of talk that if Jeff actually does, because of the rumor that came out today, that Jeff's talking about potentially going to do Hendrick stuff, which is where he belongs. Let's be honest. He's never really fit. A lot of talk that Jamie McMurray would be a good fit to move in. I would think that Kurt Busch, if he's obviously, there's talk that he's back next year, potentially going to 23, 11 Racing. They've obviously been trying with him. They've tried Harvick, but who do you potentially see as a fit to come in and do commentary?
A lot of people say Kevin Harvick over and over again, and I think Kevin Harvick is good, but I want that honesty and that rawness, that within reason, because a TV partner is never going to allow you to disparage the product. That's just something we cannot expect. They're going to be held to a clause in their contract, and they'd have to pay a lot of money if they did it. That's generally what is expected in these kinds of roles. But I would like to see some honesty. And I feel like, honestly, I loved Kurt Busch. I think he towed that line very well. I also did appreciate when they let Clint Bowyer be more serious. Clint Bowyer here recently called out Jeff Gordon, because Jeff Gordon was talking about the 269th win. And Clint Bowyer asked him, hey, you going to go get in that photo with the HMS team? And,
Yeah, he did.
Jeff Gordon was totally oblivious, and he was like, well, I wasn't in this team photo from earlier, so I guess I'll have to get in this one. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, dude, you're getting called out and you're just not ready.
Yeah.
So I like it when they let Clint be snarky. And Kurt Busch, though, I think is a really good balance of honesty and calling it and oh my gosh, can we just say how cool it is that Kurt Busch is like matured and is calm and wonderful now? Oh my gosh, kudos to him for the work he's done.
I was not a fan of him or his brother, and his brother's actually, I never thought I would ever say that I don't mind Kyle Busch now, but I think it's
comes with age.
His wife also has a lot to do with that, with everything that they've kind of gone through. And but he was amazing with his brother in commentary. I was not expecting Kyle Busch to be good at all. Greydon.
Yeah, for the record, I think Kurt Busch he has seen the full spectrum of what a racing career can be like. You can have the highest of highs, winning championships, and then it can be all taken away just from a couple of dumbass moves, or a series, not just a couple. He went on quite a tangent of rage there for a while, but I mean, he got to see the whole thing, and he was very fortunate that he was able to rebuild his career and fight back and argue for at least people like me, win us over, because I don't mind saying I hated Kurt Busch for a long, long time. He was just a mean person, and I would almost say he was like Kyle can be a mean person, but Kurt seemed genuinely mean, and he has done a great job of rebuilding himself. And I've become a great fan to him, and he's great in the booth. So that's what I was going to say about that. But moving into you and Matt, Cassie, you talked about it with the boys, and I could only hear snippets through the headsets, but what's it like working with someone that's in a similar being in a relationship with someone that's in a similar profession? You have obviously probably a sensitivity, like you've both been in certain situations that you can appreciate and give each other space and whatnot. But can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Matt and I have known each other since 2010 now. We met by working at the student newspaper. So our friendship was forged in student journalism. And we worked long hours. We were a couple of kids that had to put together a really big student newspaper, and we handled a lot of money doing it because we had advertisers and the whole 9 yards. They just kind of handed it to us. And I became editor-in-chief for 2 years, and he was sports editor for one and a part of another because he didn't meet his deadlines. And I told the boys, I fired him. Had waited a little bit, but I gave him 3 chances, and he was so busy covering NASCAR and doing all these other things that I needed my South Alabama baseball articles in by 9:00 on Sunday, and it didn't happen. So he did not like that when that happened, but we dated for a good while back then and have always been friends. And then we've been together for going on, I think we're working on 5 years now. And I just have so much respect for his work ethic and what he does. And it can be hard. I told the boys sometimes it gets a little lonely. So I'm glad I have the cats, because every once in a while he has to go on these long trips. Right. But anytime I get to go with him is such a blessing, because I love it too. And to be able to, like I told you, we've been to, the Indianapolis 500 together. We've been to World of Outlaws sprint car races. We've been to Canada multiple times now. And, NASCAR Cup, Xfinity trucks, ARCA, we've done everything. And then those super models and stuff with short track scene. And it's so fun. So I think it makes us stronger, and we get to bounce ideas off each other. Like, he was just writing an article and he was reading the pieces of the article and asking me what I thought about it, just to sort of bounce it back and forth. So that can be really cool. And I think that I wouldn't really have it any other way.
Yeah, like just stuff like that. I didn't even thought, like, when you're doing, writing something, you have like a professional opinion right there with you. That's a cool thing. I think that's really neat, and it's a really cool chemistry. That's that's awesome for you guys.
He's pretty neat. I think I'll keep him.
An all right fella, eh?
Well, we're gonna do a rapid fire, Cassie. So this is gonna be.
Oh wow!
We've never done this before, but I was like, you know what? This would be a great person to do it with because you've seen a lot of racing.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Pilot project.
Okay, so it's not going to be. It's just the first thing that comes to your mind. So we'll kind of go through NASCAR and then potentially through some other racing. So biggest surprise of 2021 in all of NASCAR. The biggest surprise in 2021.
For me personally, right?
Yes.
And just
for you personally,
the first thing that comes to my head.
Yep.
I thought Bubba Wallace would be better in the equipment that he's in, but also Denny Hamlin is not as good as I thought he would be. So I wonder if those two are tied together. But I am very surprised that Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace, by proxy, have not been stronger in the Cup Series.
So that kind of ties into with the biggest disappointment. I guess that would be the tie-in right there.
That's a different one. Anthony Alfredo, he's shown it marked improvement in the race car and obviously in the other NASCAR series, but I've seen him in the short track level and I know that he can excel. And so I would say I had hoped he would do a little bit better by now. I'm afraid of some of the feedback he's getting. And also I really hope Daniel Hemrick would pull out a win. He seems to be the bridesmaid and never the bride. And again, with that short track background, he really needs to close out the deal because when people like Josh Berry are sweeping through and being able to close the deal, that doesn't speak very highly of what you're working with. We've got to see more out of Hemrick. And I'm very, very proud of Josh Berry.
So we will continue with this track that you're looking forward to that's still on the schedule for 2021. So it's not happened yet.
That's hard because I look forward to this is the most boring answer you'll ever get because I look forward to all of them for different reasons, but I'm going to be really basic and I'm going to say I love the rope. I am a nerd for it. I think it's fun. That's the one I get to go be really just a fan at and, drink beer and watch a race. So I love it for multiple reasons. And I hope I get to do that this year and get that time off, that day off to get to do that.
Most underrated driver in NASCAR's top 3 divisions.
I would have said Josh Berry before recently. But I think people are finally recognizing what an elite talent he is. I believe, we getting to see people like him right now, Josh Berry in that car fighting for his life, getting to see Kyle Larson be in this strong equipment and dominate when people doubted him after years of sort of subpar performance. And gosh, Corey LaJoie. I'm going to actually say final answer, Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie, I feel like if he were in better equipment, could really do a lot better. I know sometimes he gets a reputation for being sort of negative and hard on himself. That's just because he wants to win. And I really hope that he gets the chance to do it one day.
So now we switch to underrated driver that is not in NASCAR who people should keep their eyes on. This could be all across your short track scene, all across America, Canada, wherever.
I want to see Stephen Nasse in a NASCAR car. I don't know if he'll ever do it because he has Stephen Nasse Racing right now. He just transitioned to doing his own thing after being with Jet Motorsports for quite a while. And he came out of the gate and won. So he's doing very well, and he's very well known in short track racing. This kid sells a lot of merch. He is a feisty personality with classy versus nasty. It is the exact injection of personality and talent that we could really use in NASCAR. And I would just love to see him even get the Josh Berry experience and get to try.
As of 2021, the top facility that you think fans should go to, and this could be across the board, it can be any track.
The nicest facility I've ever gone to, and I'm not just saying this because it's you guys and I've been all over, the number one nicest facility was literally Jukasa. If anybody gets the chance to go to Jukasa, of God, get your ticket and go.
Yes.
It's like this wonderful, magical moment of being there because the track is perfect, the environment is perfect, and there's poutine outside. Come on. And in America, just to plug for those folks for tracks, I have a soft spot for Bristol, but without dirt.
Good point. Very good point. And then to wrap up our rapid fire, who is going to be the biggest shock to miss the I don't even know why we call it the playoffs, the chase. I'm calling it the chase because I think the playoffs is a stupid name, but this could be between all three top divisions. It can be whoever you think is going to be the biggest surprise or biggest shock that they don't make it.
Would that include the end rounds, like where they just don't get to the final four?
They don't get to the final four.
Okay, so I don't think Chase Elliott gets to the final four, and I don't think I'm worried about Noah Gragson and Xfinity. But Chase Elliott's off this year. Obviously, he's had success, but it's weird, and something just seems off this year. And so I think we might be shocked that our reigning champion does not come back.
The championship hangover.
Well, we saw it with Harvick, though, right? Harvick made it to
did.
the championship 4, and then he didn't. So,
Yep.
I like that.
I think it again. It's something just feels, and this is just purely intuition and watching him and watching his interviews. He just doesn't seem quite like himself. He might just be frustrated, but we'll see.
Well, I'm blown away by this episode. We've had such a good time. I mean, you're such a fan of motorsports, and literally you get to be the professional and then come in as a fan. And you also do a little bit of photography too. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I do. I love getting to do that. I've done everything from, weddings to baby showers. So it can be a lot of fun. I hope I didn't lose you there. I got a battery alert. So. But I like doing a lot of different things, and I appreciate you mentioning that. That is something that I truly do love.
My wife loves photography as well, so I had to bring it up. Did a little research, anyways, and I'm sure that you have great opportunities in motorsports and just in being in that nice southern United States area. There's got to be some great photo opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And there's nothing like some of these short track sunsets in the South as well. I bet. I love it so much. And maybe one day that will become my job. But as long as it becomes and always stays something that I love, that's okay with me.
For sure.
If there's a short track, Cassie, that Greydon and I need to go to in the United States, are we going Five Flags first? Is that the one to go to?
Do the dual mirror thing. Yes. Go to Five Flags. Yes, kick yourself if you don't go to Five Flags. It's fantastic. And in addition to that, only being a couple minutes from my favorite beach in the world, which is Pensacola, and I haven't been to a lot of beaches in the world, so I should probably say America. But I love it. You've got your turquoise waters, you've got your wonderful racetrack, you've got great people and really weird fried food. Come on down.
That sounds like my kind of place.
That's pretty good. Cassie, we want to thank you for coming on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. It was this was a lot of fun. I feel like we could chat, just like we said with Matt, like we could chat for another 4 hours. But I'm sure you have stuff to do. So we
love the haircut, by the way.
Thank you so much. Matt said hello to the boys, but he left before you guys came on. So he says hello to you guys for sure as well. And the boys obviously are his favorite. Sorry to break it to you.
That's all right. We know it.
Yeah. It's not about us. It's about making it for them. So, we got to
keep it real.
So close, Cassie, to getting back to open tracks here. It's so close.
We're on the doorstep.
Potentially our first race will be a super late model race. The APC series is supposed to open up hopefully July 2nd. So Cassie, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. This is the first motorsports podcast I've ever done. So thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Well, we finally made the NASCAR Weekly podcast at something. We did it.
Yes.
I usually don't feel comfortable, but you guys rock. And so I've always been kind of hesitant to do it because I don't always feel confident, especially coming after Matt. And you guys just are so kind, and I really appreciate you guys. And thank you for all you do.
Oh
my God. Thank you.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do. I mean, there's nobody that puts out a Twitter troll better than you. So, you know, it is
high quality entertainment.
High quality entertainment for us, really. So, thank you so much, Cassie.
Thank you. You guys.
Stickers and Scuffs are proud supporters of Laps for MD. Laps for MD helps those with muscular dystrophy by raising funds, supporting MD charities through racing. We encourage those who are not already a part of the Laps for MD family to check them out on social media and their website, lapsformd.blogspot.com.